Hello my friends and welcome back to Annelies Journaling. I have had a lot of questions since I showed you these rusty pins, what I do with them and how to use them and what to use together with them when making some kind of decorations. So let's do a little craft with me and we can make some beautiful snippet clusters decoration thingy to put in the journal, and you can see how I work. So I will just put you back in my camera holder and we can start to play. Then I'm ready to start, and I'm going to use my rusted needles and paper clips, maybe some buttons. I haven't decided that yet. Then I am going to use some watercolor paper and handmade paper, kind of as a base, in case it will peek through under the textile. It's still beautiful. I have some textile pieces, some of them a bit thicker, made from old bed linen bed covers, and I have some bling and some papers with scripts and numbers on. So I'm going to start to layer a few down so we can start to put them together. And while I do that, I can tell you about my rust process. So why I have so many needles at the moment is that I have had problems to find needles that actually will rust. Nowadays they are coated with something that made them not rust, because when you need them use them in textile, you don't want the rust to get on the things you sew, so they are free from rust in some way. So they rust sometimes, but it might take forever. So I went out to the local radio station and asked if someone had old needles that are maybe 20-30 years old, that are just from steel, that will rust. So yes, there was a lot of ladies that answered to my howl for help. So now I have loads and loads of needles, and I'm so grateful for all the help I have got. So then I needed to rust them, and to rust them quickly I use peroxide. I use vinegar and a small amount of salt. I put that together and leave it for 48 hours. And when you look at them, they are kind of not very rusted, because the rust needs oxygen to get the color. So don't be afraid if they look a bit not so rusted when you pick them up. The rust will come. Leave it a day on a old towel or some old newspaper or something like that. Then you will get the rust. And I never kind of do any measurements, but let's say 2 parts of peroxide, 1 part vinegar, and a teaspoon of salt, and then I put it in a jar. So I guess, let's say 3 deciliter with peroxide, 1.5 with vinegar, and a teaspoon of salt, somewhere there about. So that's how I do it when I'm in a hurry and want it to be rusted quickly. Most of the time I just leave them outside. I have this tree frame, and they are a metal metal in the bottom, and then I put that on my lawn. Sometimes in the snow and sometimes on the grass when it's summer. And then I leave it there for a few weeks, a month maybe, and kind of forget about them. I like that best, so I don't need to use any. Peroxide is not so fun to use, as it's not so healthy. But when I am in a hurry, I am in a hurry. Then I need to use it anyway. So that's my process, and now I have thousands and thousands of small needles. So we need to use them up. And it's what we are going to do today. Using some colorful textiles and a few white. Just so you can see the differences you can do. I mostly use neutrals in my vintage journals, and green and maybe some pink and blue in the nature journals. So kind of red and yellow is something I kind of never use. My brain isn't made for yellow and red. I can't think when I use the wrong colors. I don't know how to describe it some other way. This is a really old piece of quilt that I have got from Kathleen Sundby. So I'm taking a little bit of it now to use in the journals. Okay, that was my first kind of layer. starting to just, have I glued all of them? I think so. So let's put those away. The next layer will be some lace. Use up your snippets and take small pieces of what you have. This is perfect when you have these small pieces left over and you don't know what to do with them. Putting a little bit of glue. I don't want them to be totally flat, so I'm not pressing down so much. Just layer the lace on top of the quilt and textile. You don't need so many layers before it feels enough, especially if you use patterned textiles. The white ones can use a bit more decoration, but often it just needs 2 or 3 layers, 1 paper, 1 textile, and maybe 1 lace. Take 1 lace that are a bit more rustic. So we have lace on almost everyone. Two more. And you can choose to just put this down with a belly needle, or glue them down and maybe decorate them with some pin or a needle. I'm very happy that you ask questions about my work, and if you have any more, please write them in the description box, or if you want to do it privately, send me a email, and I will try to answer as soon as I can. So now I'm taking one of my rusty pins, and the quilt is a bit hard, so sometimes I just use my poke tool and get some help. To get the needle through. When it has been rusted, it can be a less sharp. The handmade paper is also a bit stiff, so sometimes you need to make some holes before you use them. Taking one of my rusty safety pins and going to see if I can put this through. Try to go back down here. Do like this instead. Taking it through the decoration, and then I can glue this instead if it's too hard to get it through. Taking another little bling. These are perfect when you are sending things that is purchased, or if you want to do a little giveaway or something like that, then these small ones are perfect to put in the letters and make that little extra thing for your customer or friends. I like to put some of these in my packaging when I send my journals and other orders. Not so big, I think. This smaller one, that's a bit pink on that. Let's take this one. You can't see the needles as good on these, but I think that it makes it special anyway, with that little rusty needle. And I'm not thinking about that it gets rust on the paper or the textile. That kind of is the idea when you do things like this, that it should be seen. What you can think about is when you put the needle in, at the end you can just squeeze down the edge that is a bit sharp, and make sure that that goes down. So you don't hurt yourself when you use it. Putting down a little bit extra piece of lace on that one. Little piece of embossed paper, and then I'm putting the lace kind of diagonal, so we still can see it. As you can see, it doesn't need much. It gets rather cute quickly. Another thing you can do is to make a hole in your textile and paper, and then you can take these paper clips with legs and put them through, hopefully sometime today, both textile and paper. Try not to ruin anything. This paper with watercolor paper gets kind of almost like textile when you wet it. You can do like this, and then you can use your paper clip and put this down on the page with taking these through the page and put it on the other side. That's also cute when you have that little, almost like a pearl. So let's take another blingy one. If you haven't thought about it, I use my protector for furnitures on my distress ink tool. So these are self-adjustive, so instead of putting them under my chairs, I put them on my dabber. But that is an old tip, so I think you all know that already. But there can be some new one that haven't heard it. So we have this big one left to decorate. Little piece of bling on the edge. I think this one can need a big safety pin to break up the cuteness with all the pink. Just doing a few stitches on the edge of this one. Then I'm just going with the thread back down on the back. And just going behind the threads so I can go back and do a little knot with the first little thread I left. To finish it off. Okay, that was one kind of snippets you can do. Then I like this really simple ones in white that I often use in my journals. Small things, and then just that little needle that is that little extra. So let's do a few of those too. Put these aside so we won't be out of frame. This is just pieces from an old tablecloth. Just taking a few pieces of different laces. We can take different ones so you can see how it looks. Gluing the lace down. Couple of layers, one thin and one thicker one. You can actually take a bluish kind of color. them. Like that too. And on top of that, some old book paper or script from a letter or something like that. We can put it, use it on that blue one. Making a little knot on an ordinary thread. Then I'm just sewing this little button down with a few stitches. And tie it off with a little knot. And then it's ready for a rusty needle. Simple but so cute. And another way to just make that little extra is to use some gold stitch. Nothing fancy at all, just stitching up and down here and there. Maybe do a French knot somewhere. just random. So let's do a French knot. Just so we get a little bigger. Maybe a bit too big. See if this gets through the needle. Yes. Taking just a few stitches back to the beginning. Come on. I have glue on my fingers again. You know how that is. Cute. Little mother of pearl. And button. Sorry, I'm a bit bad of remembering the camera angle when I sew. I have probably been out of frame. if we have anything else that we want to use. No, not button and rose. Maybe this little metal leaf could be nice to have. Then the button can be kind of a flower. Take a needle and hold these in place. So we still get a bit of the rust. So let's give this one the rose instead. It might also need a needle. Putting the edge down a little bit. One left to do. A rusty paper clip on that one. Okay guys, I think you have seen enough. Now you can do these without any problems. And I'm kind of thinking of maybe doing some sets for my Etsy shop with paper and needles and whatever you need to do these. If that's something you would be interested of, please let me know. As I now have these big amount of needles and rusty things, that could be an option to share. I think this will be beautiful additions to any journal. That little extra thing that makes it pop a bit. So I hope you got inspired, and thank you for watching. See you soon again. Bye bye from Sweden.